what's going on, y'all? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And you're about to watch a little OTB LSU.
We're going to give you all the latest, greatest between LSU football, baseball, women's basketball, softball, and everything in between.
Bottom line, if you want to talk Tigers, keep it locked, subscribe, like it, and we hope you enjoy.
Right now, though, I want to shift to the college ranks, talk a little LSU football, because all the talk has been defensive line and cornerback in the transfer portal, and obviously so, right? I mean, you're paper thin at defensive line. You got a lot of bodies at corner, but I don't know how much quality you have at corner. You're probably looking for a starting caliber player, if at all, at the cornerback position. But I want to talk about running back here real quick because I think it's kind of getting lost in the shuffle of everything. Okay. You had Caleb Jackson and Josh Williams during the spring game. They both looked awesome. You know what you're going to get from both of those guys, right? Caleb's kind of the flashy, big-bodied running back. Josh Williams, just your super consistent upperclassman, does everything well. You have Caden Durham coming in the fall. By all accounts, he's going to be a stud, but he's still a freshman. We don't know what you're going to get yet. Now, still no word on Trey Holly's future. A lot of people do expect him back, but that's still very much up in the air. Even if you get Trey Holly back, though, that's 4 scholarship running backs. Brian Kelly always likes to have a big rotation of running backs. He's going to use 4 or more running backs. He's done it since he's been here. Whether it was Kevontre Bradford, Noah Kane, Josh Williams, Caleb, Trey Holly. I mean, he used a ton of running backs. John Emery. He likes a rotation and a stable of running backs. So even with Caden Durham and let's say Trey Holly comes back, that's still only 4 guys. I still think you need to dive into the transfer portal and look for somebody else. Who is that somebody else, though? A couple of names have hit the portal that LSU fans are certainly going to be familiar with here in the past few days. The first name I want to highlight is Trevante Citizen, the Lake Charles native. He played his high school ball right here at Lake Charles Prep. He was a top 300 recruit, a 4-star running back coming out of high school. He's been with the Miami Hurricanes for 2 years now. He's played sparingly. He hasn't done much, but he certainly has those Louisiana ties. He also has the size that you're looking for. He's 6'1". He's 220 pounds. You went after him hard coming out of high school. He ultimately decided to go elsewhere. That's a guy to keep an eye on, though. Because you have all these coaches that also have Louisiana ties themselves. You could bring a Louisiana native back to Baton Rouge and see if he can help you. If nothing else, for a quality depth piece. Now, the biggest name in the transfer portal is probably one that entered back on Wednesday, and it's Dylan Edwards, the transfer from Colorado. Look, he was a 4-star running back coming out of high school. Really surprised everyone when he signed with Deion Sanders in Colorado in 2023, and he did some nice things. Now, he was mainly that receiving back out of the backfield, which I kind of think plays in LSU's favor because Williams can catch the ball. We're not sure about Caleb Jackson yet. He's shown some flashes. Trey Holly, we haven't seen him catch many passes here in college. And then what are you going to get from Caden Durham? That's still a little bit of an unknown. But as far as his stats last year at Colorado, he was a productive player. He had 76 carries for 321 yards and 1 touchdown. But like I just mentioned, he made most of his damage in the receiving game. 36 catches, 299 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So 600 yards of total offense, 5 touchdowns last year as a freshman. And you got to remember, Colorado last year, they didn't have just one running back. I mean, they had 3 or 4 guys. They had Syvion Wilkerson, Anthony Hankerson, who was kind of their number 1 running back all year long. You had Dylan Edwards, Cavassier Smoke, who left Kentucky to go play at Colorado. So you had 4 or 5 running backs that you rotated in. So don't look at those numbers and be like, well, that's not a ton of production. He split the backfield with about 4 or 5 other guys, which is perfect because that's exactly what he would do here. He is a little bit on the lighter side. He's 5'9", just 170 pounds, but look, you get in that weight room in LSU's strength program, you can put the needed weight on him here in a hurry. He was the guy that jumped on the scene last year. It was the game, it was actually Colorado's opener, the one against TCU. He had 5 catches, 135 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So almost all of his damage was done in that opening game. He suffered a couple of injuries last year, was in and out of the lineup, but he had a solid year. He showed flashes. He showed that explosiveness. And again, his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield is something that you're unsure what your running backs currently on the roster are going to be able to do. He's not the only Buffalo's running back in the portal. Syvion Wilkerson, who I just mentioned, he had almost 300 yards rushing last year, a pair of touchdowns. He's in the portal as well. So a couple of Colorado buffs are in that portal that you could look at. I think Dylan Edwards provides you, at least fit-wise, with the most upside. Another guy I'm looking at, he's a guy that's been in the portal for quite a while, and it's Marquez Cooper. Marquez Cooper is a little bit of an undersized guy, and a lot of you may not know much about him. So he's 5'7", about $185. So, he's not exactly a power back, but he's just a super productive football player. He has 1 year of eligibility remaining. He was a freshman back in 2020 in that COVID year, which didn't count. Now, he's played 4 years of college football, and he's gotten a lot of play. 3 years at Kent State, and then last year at Ball State. Now he's on the move again. But he's been super productive in both spots. So his freshman year in 2020, 56 carries, 282 yards, but 5 touchdowns, average 5 yards per carry. 2021, he becomes the every down running back for Kent State. He started 14 games, over 240 carries, 1,200 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns, and again, 5 yards per carry. 2022, it's the same song and dance, y'all. 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns, 4.7 yards per carry. Then he leaves and goes to Ball State. And anytime someone leaves, you're like, okay, how are they going to adjust to this system? How are they going to be used? Are they still going to have the same level of production? He had the same level of production at Ball State. It was over 1,000 yards rushing a season ago, 4.6 yards per carry, and 4 touchdowns. So in his career, in his 4-year career, 3,800 rushing yards, 33 touchdowns, and he's averaging 4.8 yards per carry. I don't care about the size. I don't care about where this guy played. That type of production, if you're looking for a depth, look, at LSU, they're going to use multiple running backs, right? We just talked about it to open this segment. Brian Kelly likes to use 3, 4, 5 running backs. I think this guy can provide something for you. Now, he doesn't catch the ball out of the backfield quite as well as like a Dylan Edwards does. So if you're looking for a receiving back, maybe Edwards is the play there. But as far as a guy that's just been super productive, knows how to find the holes, you go watch this guy's tape. He's as explosive as anybody you'll see. Again, about 5 yards per carry over a 4-year career. He's over 800 carries, 809 carries in a 4-year career in college football is insane. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, there's a lot of wear and tear on those tires. You're not going to ask him to carry the ball 200 times this year. I mean, he may get, 50, 60 carries this year, if that. Just a solid role player, a guy that I assume wants to prove that he can do it against the higher level of competition in college football. I think that's certainly a guy to look at. Also, Jaylen Burger's in the transfer portal. He was the running back that, you guys probably know him from his Wisconsin days. LSU faced him back when they played Wisconsin. He played this last season at Michigan State. Was in and out of the lineup, only played in 5 games. But, when he was at Wisconsin, he had a couple good seasons, 300 yards as a freshman. In 2022 with Michigan State, that was his breakout year. 148 carries, 683 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's averaging 4.5 yards per carry in his career. He also didn't have the wear and tear as a guy like Marquez Cooper does. And the thing about Jaylen Burger that I like, 6 foot, 203 pounds. So he's got a big body as well. I know that it's a position we're not talking about a lot. Just because you're so talented there, you don't have the depth there, though. I think all of these guys can provide you with quality depth if that's what you're looking for. Obviously, defensive tackle is going to be number one target. I think you're trying to bring in multiple defensive linemen. Corner as well, if there's a quality starter. We talked about Ed Woods from Arizona State. We'll see what he does, but I think the next position up after those 2 spots, you got to look at running back. Again, you really like your room. It's as talented as any room in the SEC with Caleb Jackson, Josh Williams, Caden Durham coming in, possibly Trey Holly. That is still up in the air, but those 4 guys are as talented as anybody. I still think you need another piece. Because if Brian Kelly wants to use 4 running backs, let's say he does, that's what he's typically done. Even with Holly back, you got Josh Williams, Caleb Jackson, Trey Holly, Caden Durham. If one of those guys goes down with an injury, it messes up your entire running back rotation. I think you got to bring in another piece, at least for depth purposes. There's a lot of quality guys in the transfer portal and some names there to keep an eye on if you are an LSU fan.
Wow, Jake, what incredible takes.
Those guys, they're just the best.
I think so. And if you think so, again, hit the like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications when we post every single day here on OTB LSU.